Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's Heart to Heart. My name is Ann Espuelas, and I'm the Director of Family Outreach and Storytelling here at FAMM. A lot of you know me, and if you don't, I hope I get to know you soon. Today is a day to celebrate spring and new beginnings. And, there's some good news happening, and flowers I hope are blooming where you are. And I really thought it would be a great time to take this hour to celebrate, particularly with the people I've got as our guests. And so I hope we can just take this hour and be happy. I know in this work around this issue, there's a lot of sadness and pain and hurt and anger and frustration. A lot of times it feels like we're pushing this huge boulder up a mountain. And so when the good news comes, we really need to stop and enjoy it. So I hope this whole hour people are happy and don't think about the hard things ahead. And I also know that you're going to be really inspired by our guests. So I'd like to introduce them. First of all, I've got Ernest Boykin, who spent 6 years in prison and was released under compassionate release. And he's really hit the ground running. He's been home a little while, and his story is very inspirational. And I just love hearing him talk. And this is Tanae Terrell, and she has been with Ernest every step of his criminal justice reform journey. And her part in all of it is huge. And so I'm so happy she's here to share that with us. And then also we have Diane Cabrera, who has been a long-time friend of FAMM, a member of the family. And Diane, I'm already like a little teary thinking of how long you've been with us and all the steps we've been through with each other. And so I thought before we dig into the individual stories, we have a little video of something that just happened to Diane and her family. Her husband was just released after 11 years in prison. And I thought we could watch that video now. I think Travis is teeing that up.
Wow. Look at how tall he is, Eric.
I'm so happy.
Oh my God. He's so tall.
I'm telling you guys, this is the beginning. The rest of our life is going to be the best of our life. We're here, we're free.
Yes.
It's April 5th. I'm here with my handsome son, my beautiful wife, Diane. We're going to have a great life. Let's get this started. Let's see what God has in store for us.
Yes.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
That was nice. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's start with you, Diane. Give us some background on that. How did that video come to be, and when was it taken?
That was taken on Monday, Monday morning. 9 o'clock in the morning. What day is it? Today's Thursday. So we took it on Monday. I set up my phone. We rigged it in my car to set it up. And I was just staring at the gate. One of the guards told me that they'll come out of this gate. So I'm just staring right there. And it's still surreal. I mean, I think I'm floating. I don't know. It's just a wild time. So yeah, he came out. I think he was like the third guy out, and it's still surreal. It's just, yeah.
So explain to the viewers who that big guy in the video.
My gosh. I know, that is our son, Elijah, and he is only 13, even though he looks like an 18-year-old. And Eric went in 11 years ago, so Elijah was super tiny. And yeah, that's our son, and they have an amazing connection. They have the same birthday. And they just have an amazing connection, and it's not weird. It's not uncomfortable. It's great.
I remember one of the things you've told me is that they have the same sense of humor.
Yes.
That sometimes you don't get.
Yes. They are totally silly. They are quick-witted. I am not quick-witted, but they are incredibly quick-witted. Sometimes over the last number of years, of course, we've only seen Eric in the visiting room, and sometimes Elijah would do things at home that was so similar to Eric. And I was like, how did you know this was how your dad is? And they just have very similar personality, sense of humor. It's so funny. I'm afraid, no, I'm not afraid, but when he's fully home, my stomach's gonna hurt with laughter, because they're so funny. They're just so funny. They just crack me up.
That's one way to get your abs.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me when you picked him up, what was the first thing you guys did?
Oh my gosh. So when we picked him up, he wanted to change his clothes, of course. So I had from one of our other family members, FAMM members, Angela, she helped me realize, make sure, he has clothes. So over the last number of months, I've been gathering some clothes and stuff. So I grabbed a really great pair of Vans. He loves Vans, and he changed in the back of the car. And, we prison wives, we know how to change in the car. So he got to do that too. Mm-hmm. So there you go. So he changed, and then we decided to make our way. He had to go check into the halfway house. Mm-hmm. So we made our way over there, and he had a little bit of time. So we went to Denny's. We got to sit down at Denny's. So that was nice.
What did he have to eat?
He had the lumberjack meal with a ham patty or ham, mm-hmm. eggs, and hash browns and coffee.
Makes total sense. Good. I'm glad he did. Well, okay. So Ernest, is this bringing up memories for you? Talk about your own release and how that happened, and give us a little bit of your journey.
Well, excuse me. Well, it was surreal. It brought back a lot of memories just watching the gentleman and his son hugging. It was a little different for me because I went through the compassionate release process, and I was one of the first people to get compassionate release. So I found out maybe 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the next morning I was out the door. And Tanae at the time, she was in California working. She's a healthcare provider, so COVID was in full blast, so they had her all over the country, and I was in North Carolina. So Joanna Perales, my attorney, called me and told me, listen, Ernest, you got to get out of there the next morning. And I was out like around 10 a.m. And, they had arranged the transportation for me to get from North Carolina back to D.C. Generally, when people get out of prison, they put them on a bus or maybe the plane or something. But they had a private car waiting for me outside of the gate. Nobody really had an opportunity to meet me there. And I didn't care. I was happy just to be out of there. I got out in the middle of the summer, so it was a scorching hot day. And I remember everything about that morning. And when I got in that sedan, I just was so relieved. The guy cut on the radio, and I had a nice ride to reflect and just think about where I had come and everything I had been through. I was able to be in my thoughts and prayers. And, I would never trade that experience for anything. The way it would have been nice to have hugs and kisses and family outside, but I was happy to have that time. Mm-hmm. And I rode from North Carolina all the way to Washington, D.C., Union Station. And it was wonderful because I got to see all of the new things that had been built since I'd been gone in the city, and D.C. has transformed so much in that time. But after that, a good friend of mine picked me up and took me out to a nice restaurant. And I was able to start my life over at that moment right there.
Wow. And tell us when that was?
It was July the 16th of 2020.
Wow. Well, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about how you started your release journey. And I think the star of that show is Tanae, because I
Correct.
remember, in my understanding, there might have been stuff before it, but my understanding is sort of it might have started right here on a Facebook Live on a heart to heart, right? Tanae, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a little audio issues with you guys, but yes,
Oh,
it
good.
did. It actually started when Kevin Ring did a live, and he gave me all the information I needed to, fill out the paperwork to get the process started. So,
The process
yeah,
of of getting earnest compassionate release, right?
yes.
Right. Right. So Ernest, did you know about compassionate release, or did Tanae tell you about it?
Well, it was kind of weird. Like I had heard about compassionate release, but there were a lot of parameters around it that I didn't qualify for. I wasn't old enough. I didn't have enough time in and things like that. And so I had reached out to an attorney, and he talked about $5,000 for the just to file the motion. So Tanae was figuring out some financial things and how she was going to handle that.
Yeah.
And we reached out to family members, but nobody really has $5,000 just laying around just to throw
Yeah.
out a lawyer just to write a motion. So Tanae jumped into action. She was like, "Well, let me contact FAMM and see what they're saying." And then, she contacted me and was like, "Well, they need you to fill out a survey, and they need you to do this, and they want to make sure that you fit all these qualifications." And as everything was going on, the laws changed. I think Attorney General Barr and President Trump, they said that you didn't have to be a certain age anymore. You didn't have to have a certain amount of time. As long as you met those CDC guidelines, you were eligible for compassionate release. And yeah, like you said, she jumped in. She told me about this live thing, and that she was on with
Yeah,
with.
I think it was like a Thursday, and or something like that towards the end of the week. And we had the ball rolling Monday morning. We were, sending paperwork off to the warden and
Wow.
the region. So it moved very, very quickly.
Wow. So I want to ask you more, Tanae, and Diane, you can talk to this a little bit too. What's it like supporting someone? I mean, Diane, for you, it's been 11 years. Tanae, it's been I'm not sure when you got involved with supporting Ernest, but years. And maybe Diane, can you talk a little bit about that? How you said prison wives know how to change in cars, like
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that kind of thing. Like, what are some of the things you learned how to do supporting somebody in prison, and what are some of the things you were surprised by? I know probably a lot of people watching this are prison spouses, and probably still in the thick of it. I mean, again, this show is about people who got released, and I want you to be inspired and hopeful, but also talk a little bit about what you went through. Let's start with you, Diane.
Well, yeah, that's a really good question. I know that for me, it was a new world. I mean, in the beginning, I had no clue about anything, nothing, no clue about anything. And I think in the beginning, I realized I just had to put all of my walls down and ask for help and ask questions. I asked a lot of questions to other people waiting in the line of at the visiting. I had to ask questions, and I had to look up information. Each time my husband was, sent to a different prison, I looked up the visiting guidelines. I wanted to make sure what outfit is okay, what's not okay. He would always joke with me. He would, he uh, laughed when I would say, Eric, I looked at the commissary. I know you can get this at the commissary, you know? And sometimes I would even look at the inmate handbook. So I'm like, this is what they allow, or these are the classes you can take there. So I wanted to know everything. So I looked it up. Yes, it takes time to look up stuff. And then I would ask questions. And so many women are so helpful in the visiting lines. Um, and we create a little like, I guess, visiting family. You just kind of come to know people on the days that you go. Yeah, it's you just have to be open, I think, be open to learning, open to asking a ton of questions. My husband is really great with asking questions on his side, and then relaying all that to me, so I know what to expect at visiting. So each place, again, he would tell me, okay, the families do this, they line up there or something, so that I knew what to expect as well. So that was something that we would do together.
It sounds like you're really proactive.
Yeah, I like to know information. I guess I'm an information junkie, and I don't want to. I never wanted to. I never wanted to be turned away. You know, of course, I don't. No one wants to be turned away. So I wanted to make sure I knew the information, so that I wouldn't be turned away. Especially when Eric was in Texas. We are from California, and when he was in Texas and Florida, that's a long trip, and I can't be turned away. You know.
Yeah. Were you ever turned away?
Yes, I was. That was not a lot of fun. That was when he was in Texas, and man, we flew there to Texas, and I was
Just
told
you and Elijah. How old was Elijah? Little,
Elijah
right?
was probably 8 years old, maybe eight,
Yeah.
9, and we flew to Texas from LAX. And I was told that if I got to the prison, I think it was like before 2 o'clock, before 1, I could get in for the last 2.5 hours. And so I had a flight, and I figured it out that I could get my rental car, get over there, and we could rush in for 2.5 hours. Um, and sure enough, they said no. And I was like, no, I know you guys said if I get here, and I begged them. I said, we just flew in. Can we just get in? We just want to see him, because we are all, we wanted to spend every minute together, like if I can be there all day, we're going to be there all day,
Right.
There was one time in Texas where we couldn't be there all day. It was in, Texas, so super hot. And they decided, well, not they decided, the air conditioning stopped working. We were all just incredibly hot. And my son was really uncomfortable. And we had to cut that visit short because it was physically uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
a lot of people had to leave that day. It was too hot.
Yeah, I've heard other people say the same kind of thing. They were just so uncomfortable, and they could see that their loved one was really uncomfortable too.
Yeah, it was bad.
Tanae, you're nodding your head. Can you relate?
Well, I've had similar issues, and like Diane said, you really do have to reprogram your whole brain when you're dealing with the BOP. Where Ernest was at, the counts were my issue. You had to be in before the counts, or you would have to wait a long period of time to get in. So
explain what the
I've never
counts
been
are
turned away because of that. But yeah, I've had to wait hours for a fall count or a recount. And yeah, that's just something that you kind of learn early on visiting your loved one. Like, get there as early as you can so you can avoid that wait.
Yeah. So what was your strategy going through all this, supporting a loved one inside? Would you agree with Diane? Like, lots of information, make sure you know what you guys are up against?
Well, yes, I do. I can't stress enough how important it is to have family support. Like Diane said, like I would go and visit Ernest like every 2 weeks or so, and I would just spend like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days at a time and just be there because we're their lifeline while they're inside. And they they need their family support while they're in there. So, you know, just learning like course link and making sure he had commissary, and just him knowing that everybody was okay. He would say like, you know, that makes me feel better, you know, that I don't have to stress about my family and my parents and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And you definitely, I remember going to the visiting hall and having 3 or 4 outfits in my car, because they would one day say this outfit is okay, and then the next day you can't wear that. So I physically had to like change my clothes in my car a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, so you know, Diane talked about getting the support from the other women in the visiting line. How did you take care of yourself?
So, you know,
Or
once
and still do?
Ernest you know, informed me about FAMM, you know, those long lines that I had to wait in, we all talked about FAMM. I was a big advocate, especially before the First Step Act passed. I was telling everybody, hey, there's actions. You got to go on this site. You know, we need you to sign a petition, you know, and they got this information. So we definitely talked a lot while we waited. And like I said, it was a lot of waiting where he was at.
Yeah, yeah. But what did you do to take care of yourself? Like, how did you deal with the sadness and
You
the
know,
feeling?
I tried to engulf myself in my work. I'm a healthcare worker, and I would just, you know, pick up extra shifts. I was really deep into going to church. You know, a lot of my family, I tried to, you know, talk to them, and it was really difficult. You get lonely and you get sad, but I felt like I had to be strong, because
Yeah,
if I wasn't good, then he wouldn't be good.
yeah,
So, you know, even if there were times when I was, you know, not so good, I didn't want him to see it.
yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, Mr. Boykin,
Yes.
you're up. I know it's interesting that you started with that description of the drive from North Carolina all the way up to DC, and you said you appreciated the time to reflect. And you're in this room now with all those books behind you, and I know that in your life right now you are deep into sort of study, and
Yeah.
you have anyhow. I would love for you to talk a little bit about what you've been up to, because it's really extraordinary.
Well, once I returned to DC, you know, it was a pandemic, so everybody was quarantining. It seemed like the whole world was on house arrest. So I was trying to figure out some things to do with myself, and I stayed in contact with my attorney, Joanna Perales, because she wanted to kind of make sure that I was readjusting okay. And she recommended me for this program called Georgetown Pivot Program, and it's a college course through the McDonough School of Business, which is the master's degree level course. And you know, it was called Pivot, and Pivot is a highly selective program, and it's business and entrepreneurship courses. And well, they had maybe 100 applicants, and the application process was really extensive. And I went through it, and I was one of 14 people selected. And now this third cohort is 10 people, and including myself. So I've just been in class all day long from 9 to 5, studying entrepreneurship, business, public speaking, um, writing proposals, all kinds of everything that you may need to either start your own venture, or everything you may need to be a wonderful employee in this workforce. And now we're at the internship phase of the program. And currently, I work for a communications firm called, excuse me, Link Strategic Partners. And Link Strategic Partners is a communication firm that specializes in social impact projects.
Oh, cool.
So I was able to not only, you know, join this organization and make a difference and learn how to be a consultant in marketing and PR, but I'm also been able to help the community and do things that benefit the community. And a lot of other things I've been doing have been working with FAMM to try to help end the crack cocaine disparity. I've you know, wrote a few things and then spoke about some of that stuff. I've been working on um, uh, 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 a novel that I'm trying to publish. I've also been doing a lot of other writing for. I wrote a few articles in the Washington Informer newspaper, and I've just been getting a lot of encouragement and support from the community and a lot of people who I've met through FAM. Um, to try to just go for it and do everything that I can to try to be an advocate for criminal justice reform, um, mandatory minimums, and things like that. I had an opportunity where I could have interned at Vera, and Vera they're the organization who helped get the Pell Grants for prisoners back. I work closely with the Frederick Douglass Project, and they're an organization that brings people from the community into prisons, and they open up a dialogue between people who are incarcerated and people who um, are in the community, so that they can try to initiate some type of change and empathy and storytelling in that process.
Wow, that's cool. Uh,
So I've just been trying to do everything I can to try to establish myself as a justice reform advocate and activist, and I've also been trying to work on rebuilding the relationship with my children and my family, and just trying to rewrite the narrative that was previously written about me. Because I mean, in the age of Google, people can type in your name, and everything that you've done will come up. And at one point, when they typed in my name, it was a person who was selling drugs. So now I'm trying to change that so that when they type in my name, oh, this gentleman went to Georgetown University. This gentleman works for Link Strategic Partners. This gentleman is trying to help rebuild the justice system, so that instead of locking people up and throwing people away for years and years and years, destroying families, we can come up with some alternatives to prison. Maybe like more mental health treatment, more drug treatment, and even more opportunities for different ways of punishing people for mistakes that they've made, so that we can try to lower this recidivism rate, and so that we can try to rebuild some of these communities that are damaged by mass incarceration.
mhm. Ernest, my goodness, have you been getting any sleep?
No, not much. No, I don't have time to do anything
Yeah,
other than just try
yeah.
to make it happen.
You're working a lot. Well, that is so inspirational. I'm also interested because we've got Diane right here, and she's 3 days into this process. Can you talk a little bit about, Ernest? You said like rebuilding relationship with your kids and your family. I know Diane probably has some questions for you, but I'm interested in that too. Um, can you talk a little bit about maybe some challenges and how particularly with your children? I mean, they're older than Elijah, but
Yeah,
how you dealt
I
with
have
that?
one Elijah's age.
Oh, you do have a 13-year-old? Okay.
I have all
Mhm.
teenagers. I have stair steps. I have my youngest one is about to be 13 in May, and my
Oh,
oldest one right now is 17. So, um, to be perfectly honest with you, not just the children, everybody. When you come home from prison and you coming into this new environment, which is not really new, but it's different. Um, Guys on the inside, we call it being burnt out. And people in the regular world know what burnt out is too. When you're overworked, you're stressed out, you got a lot going on. You come home, you're burnt out. Like people don't realize, they think like, oh, you were in prison, you were on vacation. Prison is not a vacation. There's not one dull moment in prison, and you come home with a lot of you're reprogrammed. You're because like from doing the same thing over and over and over again, days out, thousands of days, people have done the same thing. Like I can tell you right now what I was doing on April the 8th, 2020. I know exactly what I was doing. And there's so many people in prison doing the same thing. So that when you come out to society, little things like eating fast. Like I was programmed that I had to eat my food in 5 minutes, because if I didn't eat my food in 5 minutes, they were going to kick us out the chow hall. And if you try to take longer, then there could be repercussions or punishments behind that. just my tone. When you as a male, when you're around men all the time, men talk to men totally different than a man would talk to a child, or would talk to a woman, or even a elderly person or parent. So I had to step out of myself and start seeing those things. And then you have a culture shock that you have to deal with, because now you're not only coming out to society that is already biased for convicted felons, and as a black male, I've already had to deal with that. But there's so much other stuff going on now because there's COVID and everybody has masks on, so that's kind of weird. And then now there's like a silent war going on between the police and inner city people because of the George Floyd situation and the Breonna Taylor situation. So it's so much at once that it's overwhelming. So
Yeah.
to answer your question, as far as the kids are concerned, the kids don't care about anything. They don't care about you buying them stuff. And a lot of us guys who are in, that's what we want to come home and do. We want to come home and provide just like we did before we left. But the kids don't care about that. They just want hugs. They want to sit down and watch a TV show with you. They want you to play the video game with them. They want you to tell them that their taste in shoes and clothes is nice. They want you to make them something to eat. Like, and they don't want to have to even share you with mom sometimes. They don't want to share you. They want that one-on-one time. So a lot of times when us as returning citizens come back in, we have to use a lot of empathy. We have to take ourselves out of it, and we have to put the person who we're trying to reach in their perspective first. So me, I have 4 children, and they don't like to share with each other. So they definitely don't want to share me. So they like if I'm spending too much time working, or if I'm spending too much time with my girlfriend, then are they're not going to say nothing. They're just going to be like, well, you know what? He's busy. I'm just going to let him be happy. So I had to really step back and really like get my priorities in order. Like, yeah, I'm really determined to be successful and do something to that they can be proud of as far as justice reform in my career. But that's not even important to them. The most important thing to the children is time, and you can't get it back. So you got to take your time and really choose your time and your schedule wisely when it comes to the children, because as every parent on this call knows, that once they become teenagers, they turn into young people and they're new people, and they're almost gone. And once they get 18 to 18 years old, you're not even going to see them anymore. It's over. They'll just come back to visit on the holidays. So you got to cherish the day and cherish the memories that you have with them.
Mhm.
As far as like even dealing with your spouse or significant other, that situation is a situation that I hope Tanae and Diane, I hope you help women deal with this, because and even men, because there's a lot of women coming home too, because it's wonderful when you first get out and everybody's in love and happy and everything's going great, but then after a while, like, it's not that easy to deal with everything that comes after that. There's a lot of pressure. A lot of men, they need time that are returning. They need time to gather themselves and figure out what their why in life is, what they really want to do with their situation, without the extra pressure of trying to tiptoe around everybody's feelings, even the kids, the wife, the family. Like, so like I was saying in the beginning, like when you come home, it's like you really need a vacation to try to regroup.
Yeah.
But I decided to jump right in and work, because I feel like I wasted so much time. And when the judge killed that last 7 years of my sentence, I feel like he gave me a blessing, and God gave me a blessing. And I decided that I'm going to work my behind off these next 7 years. And then when my real sentence date is over, then that's when I can rest and
Yeah.
take my vacation.
Wow. Wow. I somehow I don't see you resting, but but
Hey, listen, I'm on supervised release. They just buzz me. They monitor me through the phone. So
that was what that was.
I'm gonna take a selfie of myself so that they know where my positioning is.
Right.
And while you ask the next question,
Right. This is real time supervised release.
real time, real time.
All right, Diane, how does all that hit you?
Wow, it was great. I loved everything you said.
Thank
Yeah, I was writing down a couple of things. Yeah, one thing that I know Eric has done this week, he finally said he got a little sleep last night. And he hasn't slept, I don't think, since, well, I don't think he's gotten any really good sleep, but I know last night he said he got some really good sleep finally. The first couple of nights, I think the adrenaline of just being out, you know, didn't allow him to sleep really well the first couple of nights. And he's just super excited. But yeah, everything that Ernest said was really great. Oh yeah, one thing I wrote down. So yeah, Eric has a phone. I got him a phone, and I think he's probably been on the phone, texting, calling people, FaceTiming all of his friends, family, probably all day the last couple of days. Every day that I mean, people are calling me, texting me, Facebook messaging, saying, where is he? You know, give him my number. So I'm excited that he gets to talk to all of his friends and stuff, and catch up and everything. That makes me happy.
Yeah, that's so great. Diane, I wanted to remind you, so a couple of years ago, Diane wrote a family perspective for us on the stories page. It's still there on the stories page of our website. And I wanted to go back and read sort of where it was 2 years ago. And I think a lot of the things are the same, but you said, growing up, I had zero compassion for anyone who broke the law.
Yeah.
And so you started that, you came to everything with that, and now you are 180 degrees from that. And so I wanted to know if you could talk a little bit about that, how because, you know, here at FAMM, everybody on this call knows, and most of our guests know, we're working really hard to show why people in prison deserve second chances, or why they deserve at least the chance to show that they deserve a second chance.
Yes.
And so, you know, that person who said, I had zero compassion for anyone who broke the law, I think that's the person we're talking to.
Yeah.
So what would you say, having gone through this with Eric and now getting out on the other side, what would you say to that person, to younger Diane?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. Well, gosh. Oh my goodness. That's a really good question. I know that yeah, I did not have a lot of compassion at all in growing up, maybe until my 20s, maybe. I don't know. And through Eric, and then all of this whole journey, meeting everyone in FAMM, meeting a lot of Eric's friends in prison, out of prison, the ones who have been released, you know, you come to see them, you know, Eric, all of his friends and everybody, you come to see like their real character, their person. Everything has been stripped of them. They can't show you their flashy shoes, their flashy anything. So they show their real personality. And I know for Eric, and I think I can tell from Ernest too, that, you know, they are great men. Eric is a great man. And he's been able to develop amazing friendships. And when I see them outside, you know, these guys, I trust them with my entire life. You know, like I know that I can call one of his friends and they will help me if I need to, if I need information. So they, the respect that they have for Eric, comes back to me, and I just trust them. I see, that they want to change, that they have done a lot of soul searching. I know Eric has. I don't know. That's just a good question, and I don't know if I'm answering it all the way,
are.
because there's
You
so
are.
much, and I see, they, all of the guys inside, they have amazing family members who are waiting in line to go see them. It was really, eye-opening, the first number of years visiting. And I think people, and I'm talking to myself way back then, I think we think that a prison wife or a prison girlfriend or the prison family member is going to visit, the guys inside, the inmates, that we're all these, weird people. And I don't know, we have a bad image in public, but when you go to the actual prison and you're standing in line and you are that person, and you see just amazing families standing in line, and it's heartbreaking, but it's also like, wow, this person. I knew someone, in the visiting line. She works at Nike. She's in management at Nike. I've met so many other people. They're teachers, they're business owners, they're, nurses, doctors, some famous people, actors, some producers I've seen. They're just all these amazing people who love their loved one who happens to be incarcerated. They're not bad people. Okay, they did something that wasn't great. They did something wrong. They're paying the price. And they're doing their time, and their family members and friends love them, and now they're out, and yes, they deserve a second chance. They deserve a second chance. They should not be called felons for the rest of their lives. Eric, did his time,
Yeah.
and now he wants to do all sorts of things. He wants to do everything. He should have that chance, that opportunity. Ernest did his time. He is doing amazing things right now too. So I always think about people who, on Twitter you see things and people say, oh well, they should just spend the rest of their lives in prison or something. And I'm like, man, that person who wrote that, you probably did something wrong and maybe you got away with it. Like, you're no better than the person in the prison. I don't think you're better than that person. So don't act, those people should not act like they're perfect, basically.
Right. Good.
Just because I have never been in prison doesn't mean I'm perfect. I am, every day trying to be a better person for my own self. So yeah, we all want a second chance. I mess up with my son. I might, I don't know, mess up somehow. I'm a mom, we're not perfect. And I want a second chance.
Right.
So
Right.
I should get a second chance. My son, he's 13. He's a learning person, a young man. He's going to mess up. I should give him a second chance. I should not just throw him away because he messed up.
Yeah.
That's not okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Good, Diane. I love that. So there's a question, for Diane and Ernest. Ernest, let's start with you. Do you have as a returning citizen, do you have survivor's guilt?
Most definitely, yes, I do. I feel bad every day about the people I left behind. I've written an article about Christmas. And, Christmas was one of those times in prison where, you may not like everybody who you're surrounded around, but everybody puts all that stuff aside, and we all get along, and we all share food and cook. And, it's just one of those times. And New Year's, because New Year's is a new year. So
Right.
that's like the Christmas for people who are locked up. Everybody loves uh New Year's. So yes, I do have survivor's guilt, and like it. I really appreciate what Diane said, but people got to realize this: that locking somebody up, it affects the families and the community a lot more than people realize. The person in jail figures out how to cope with that situation, but you're destroying families. Instead of a household having two people, they only have one person. So that means that's less vacations that child gets to take. That's less Christmas presents. That's less going out to eat that child gets. That's a less likelihood that that child could go to a good school. And also, so that's resources that are being drained from the community, because now some moms have to get on public assistance. Some moms have to do all kinds of things to be able to afford to take care of their families. And if you help people get gainful employment when they come home, the likelihood that they will reoffend is make way higher. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I do have survivor's guilt, but locking people up, it affects people a lot more than just the inmate or the person incarcerated. It
Yeah.
affects families a lot more.
Sure. So, Tanae and Diane, Tanae, let's start with you. Do you have survivor's guilt about when you think about those lines of people you used to stand with? You're no longer going to be in those lines. Do you feel like, do you feel,
I'm torn. I remember those days, and I understand how they feel, but I am also happy. And this pandemic is still very real. A lot of people think that it's over, but it is not. And like I said, I'm a healthcare worker, so I was so happy. I felt like they saved my boyfriend's life, because he went to jail for a crime, but he did not go there to die from COVID. So I was very happy that he was able to come and do the remainder part of the time in the house safe. So to answer your question, I'm kind of torn
Yeah.
between yes, I am, but I am happy.
yeah. How about you, Diane?
I will say, yeah, I'm very thankful that I don't have to wait in line, and deal with all that. Super thankful. But at the same time, I was thinking about, some of the people that I met in the visiting line, and they're really great people. I mean, I actually enjoyed a lot of conversations I've had, and we had some good laughter. And there's just some great people who were visiting their loved ones. Um, and I'll miss a couple of them, because it was interesting. We had a connection, and we had a connection where you didn't feel weird, because you're already there. You're going to visit someone in prison, so you don't have to like hide behind something. You don't have
Yeah.
to not
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah. So one thing I was thinking that I wanted to ask you, Diane, is, well, the question for everybody: how do you keep up hope? But especially you, Diane, because I know over these years it's been like Lucy and the football. Like, you guys have gotten good news, and then the news has changed, and I think that happened a couple times. And so, and having Elijah there with you, so excited, and then all of a sudden, no, we changed our mind. Can you talk a little bit about how you dealt with those punches?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I do believe that my faith in God, our faith in God, Eric's faith in God, that has helped us stay grounded, and just believing that we're going to be able to make it, number one. Number two, I believe over the last couple of years, and especially this last pandemic year, I have learned to take it one day at a time.
Mhm.
I mean, honestly, I just focus on today.
Mhm.
And I just focus on today, and I focus on what I can do. And
Mhm.
I really always remember what Kevin Ring says about, do what you can today and then put it away and do something else,
Mhm.
So if that meant, writing an email, to whatever, when he was trying to go through compassion release, that got denied, but I would write an email and then put it away and then physically just go do something else, and just try not to think about it. And that helped me. So
for I know there are people probably watching this who might be going through the same kind of thing. So the setbacks were like, here you are at the other end of things, but he was denied compassionate release,
yes,
and then he got relief from the First Step Act.
he
But
did.
but then what happened? Then
So yeah, he got relief from that. But then COVID happened, and that stalled his program inside, which it got.
yeah,
And so when things kind of opened back up a little bit, his program kept going. But that also added more time because of COVID. So,
yeah, right.
and then also, I don't know how many years ago it was, but some Supreme Court case we thought was going to help him, but and that went the other way. So
Yeah,
we've had a couple of times where we thought, okay, and then no, and then okay, and no. And so for my son, I wouldn't tell him everything. I would say, well, it's a possibility, but we're not gonna bank on it,
yeah,
because I don't want to keep him super high, like, yes, it's gonna happen. Um, I don't, I can deal with it. The adults can deal with the
yeah.
letdown, but I don't want him to have to work, like, think, oh yeah, it's going to be tomorrow, but it
Right.
might
That's
be.
really good advice. Ernest, how about you? How did you keep hope alive when you were inside? And because it was 14 years. Can't hear you. You're on mute.
It was actually 15 years.
15 years.
Alive. Well, I mean, having today really, really, really definitely helped. For like, I was half the time I was in it was, I was just making it existing, trying to stay busy as possible. Trying not to focus on the long road ahead. Just trying to just read and write and go to classes and do all the things that you know were kind of contrary to what everybody else in prison generally does. Most people in there are just working out and watching TV and things like that, just wasting time. I mean, I hate to say it, if they're happy with it, they're happy with it, but to me it's like you're wasting time.
Mhm.
So what I ended up doing was doing something different. And then in my downtime, when today came into my life, I spent my downtime talking on the phone with her and writing her and looking forward. It's like I lived from visit to visit. I lived. Yes, yes. Kevin Ring said, "Get your friends over a friend like today." Man, you need 1,000 friends like today. Like she is a wonderful person, and you know, it was times when I didn't know what I would do, and I just lived from visit to visit, and everything else in between was a blur. And my heart goes out to Diane and her family because of all of those laws and things that didn't go her way. Because I was that person, but I had so much faith, like, and then other people around me had faith that I knew it was something was going to happen. I didn't know that COVID was going to be my savior, but
Yeah.
I'm so fortunate that I didn't have to go through like the Hobbs Act law not going my way or the crack law and all that. It's like the first thing that came that I qualified for because I was waiting for the mandatory minimums to get rolled back. But the first thing that came up with this COVID, and when today was like, "Hey, you qualified," I was like, I don't know. I remember telling my friends, I said, "Hey, y'all might want to get your family to go and FAMM and see what's up
Yes.
with the compassion release." My friends laughed at me. They were playing cards. They said, "Oh, let us know how that goes for you, man. Uh, fill it out and then tell us how it goes." And then 60 days later, I was walking out the door. If
Wow.
you would have saw the looks on some of those guys' face, I mean, it wasn't even funny, and that's why I do these things, working with FAM and all these organizations, because there's a lot of people who deserve opportunity to come out, and you know, they didn't have the support system I had. I had today, I had my parents, I had some really good friends, but my main support system was today during that period. And the last thing I'm gonna say, because I don't want to hog the screen, is nobody knows what's gonna happen when you finally do get out, but you do have those memories from those times to carry you on. And life is short. You can make new memories, but I just really value those times, and I just think that, when you see who got your back when the chips are down, then that really changes your perspective about life and about people,
Yeah.
overall. So it's really a valuable experience, and no matter what, I feel indebted to her forever for that.
Aw. All right, Tanae, I'm sorry, but I'm going to make you talk.
Okay. I wanted to be the voice of the other side. I know Diane unfortunately went through a hard time, but I want to be the voice to tell someone out there watching that we really, from beginning to end, we stay positive. It was never a time where we said if, it was when. And it went from, I think, April the 22nd to the motion being filed to him coming home in July. So it is possible. You know, I used to watch these lives and be like, oh my God, I don't know. So it is definitely possible. So don't be dismayed. Positive.
Yeah, stay positive. I love that. I love that. That's so true. Well, so we have a few minutes left. I wanted to, Ernest, go back to you. You said you're done, but I have one more question. Are you going to stay in reform and advocacy?
And that's the $1 million question right there, literally. um, I'm always going to be an advocate for justice reform. I believe that the way that the United States prison system is set up is messed up. There's so many other countries out here that are that incarcerate people, and they don't lock them up and throw away the key. I don't care how heinous the act is. It doesn't necessarily take you 40 years to learn your lesson. There's so many other prison models that the United States can use. But first thing that we need to work on is the recidivism rates for the return of citizens that are coming home. If you give people jobs where they can support their families and actually be human beings, if you give people an opportunity to come home without being felon shamed, then somebody will most likely try to do the right thing. And secondly, you can't just keep locking people up for drugs. I mean, people have really serious problems. Like they have addictions, and I've seen prescription medication destroy as many lives as I've seen street level narcotics. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of this stuff out here that people are taking is terrible, and they should never take it. But they're taking it for a reason, and they need help. And lastly, mental health. Mental health is very, very important.
Yeah.
We need to do something to help people get mental health treatment. And once we do that, that will cut the incarceration rate so much. Jobs, drug treatment, mental health treatment. And then
Well said.
if we do, and this lastly, if we do have to lock somebody up for violent acts or something crazy like that, there should be a way where we can lock them up where they can still have that family connection, where they
Yeah.
can still be a part of their family's lives. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. So Diane, we have a little bit more than a minute left. Can you talk? Are you going to stick around? Are we going to see you still in reform and with Eric too?
Yes, I feel very passionate about everything that I've learned in about prison reform and everything that I've experienced and everything that's going on right now. I just, we need to tell people all about what's really happening, you know? And I was one that had no clue about any of it. And it blows my mind what is going on. And I even was telling a couple of friends a couple of things, even my mom, and she's like, "What? I cannot believe this is going on." I said, "Yes, hello, it
Yeah.
is."
Yes,
So,
yes, yes, yes. Oh,
and
wow.
she's, you know, she's my mom. She's older,
Yeah,
so yeah, we just
yeah.
don't know. We
We
just
just don't know. Prisons are far, far away. Other people are in them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I just don't know how to thank you guys enough. It really was a breath of fresh air to have you all here, see your smiles, know that there's, this is happily ever, not ever after maybe, but
Well,
it's a great way to celebrate new beginnings. Tanae, do you have one thing to say?
one thing before I go,
Yeah.
I am in the process of trying to start my own personal Facebook group for wives and
Okay,
girlfriends of incarcerated,
great.
just coming home or still in there. So just it's coming. So just
Yeah.
keep a
Oh,
lookout
good.
for
Well,
it. So
keep us
we can
posted.
have these forums, just for for the wives and the girlfriends and the family members.
That is fantastic. There's so many people probably watching this and in the FAM group who would love that. Would love that.
Yeah.
I also was thinking, I have a feeling that Ernest and Eric would get along really well.
I know, yes, I 100% agree. We
Yeah,
need to, we're West Coast, you're East Coast, so
yeah,
we need a West Coast, East Coast connection.
I'll be out
yeah.
there.
Okay.
I'll be out there soon enough.
Okay. Hi, Eric. I know he's watching. I love you.
Eric,
Hi, Eric. Welcome home. And people put in the comments, welcome
Welcome
home,
home.
Eric. Yeah, welcome home. So we get Eric, Ernest, and Kevin Ring together in a room.
Oh,
that's my guy.
100%.
Kevin is
We'll
my
see what
guy.
happens. We'll see what happens.
Kevin, listen,
Woo!
they wanted to know what qualifies them for compassionate release, and I think right
Oh,
now anybody's qualified. But it helps to not have any disciplinary infractions for the last year.
mhm,
It helps to have a nonviolent offense right now,
mhm.
and it also helps to be in like a low level security facility, like a low or a camp. And
Yeah,
it also, you want to, um, uh, yeah, low, no disciplinary infractions, and you would want to have a CDC identified illness like high blood pressure, asthma, diabetes, to try to apply for compassionate release. And
yeah,
I know we're done with time,
yeah.
but thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure and an honor to talk to all of you. Thank you so much. Happy spring.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.